So yeah, not clickbait. Bandai Namco very graciously invited me to their back to school event last week, where I got to once again play Digimon Story Time Stranger early, a month before it comes out. I played the first section, the introduction of the game, and then we jumped ahead to the Abyss area. And yeah, we have a lot to talk about. What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX and welcome back to another video. Cannot believe I got to play Time Stranger early again. Thank you again to Bandai Namco UK for sorting that out. And all of this only happens because of you guys, because you guys watch the video, comment, put us in front of Bandai Namco directly. That's why I get these cool opportunities and to bring more things to you. And if you want to keep that momentum going, please do subscribe, of course. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers. But also please like this video. And when you do on mobile now, maybe on desktop too, YouTube will give you the option to add hype to this video. All that basically means is an extra thing of saying you're enjoying the video, and will also promote it and potentially mean that the video will get seen by more people and enter a hype leaderboard. It's great for the channel, it's great for Digimon, I would appreciate it. So yeah, how was your week? Now listen, I'm going to be delving in, as I said in the intro, into the introduction of Digimon Story Time Stranger, the first hour, and then some sections of the Abyss area, but I'm going to keep it somewhat spoiler light. Honestly, almost everything I saw we've kind of already seen in material one way or another, or at least have inferred it based on what we've seen. However, there are some big things that I will be saving more towards the end, and one very big spoiler in particular, which might have already been posted by the time I post this video today. Sorry for everyone who's expecting a Sunday video, but I literally couldn't post this until Monday, so apologies if you didn't see my stream or my post or anything. That's why today's video is going out on a Monday, because of all this. But yeah, there's one very big thing that's revealed in the first hour of the game, but it hasn't been confirmed yet, and I think it's pretty huge. So that's going to be the last thing I talk about in this video. So if you're trying to go spoiler light, you can still enjoy this video to an extent. All right, so the intro of the game, you get this very prosy text about death and rebirth, and then you get to pick your character. You also can choose your difficulty before this, which I think is really interesting. I love that. You can of course choose between your girl and boy MC. I chose, and thankfully the footage Bandai Namco gave me also chose the male protagonist. Unfortunately, while I did capture all of my session, there just wasn't time to transfer to USB, so I will be showing you some footage of mine, but thankfully I have this wonderful B-roll from Bandai Namco. In my session, I called myself Karn, which then became Karn Yuki, but of course in here you're just seeing Dan Yuki. Once we pick our character, we end up in a POV in that in-between theater with little Babby Mirai. I suggested in my last Time Stranger news video that this little kid might be Mirai, and indeed we got confirmation like a day later on socials that it was Mirai, so glad I got that one right. And we really are seeing Mirai like minutes into the game, so she very similarly is guiding us. She says, "Take a seat and wait for the show to start. A story about the natural laws of the world is about to begin," and then the play begins. This feels like a much more old worldy theatrical version of the intro you get on Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory Complete Edition, where she asks you which kind of side of the story you want to start. And that makes sense that while Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory had a much more technological focus being Cyber Sleuth's, Time Stranger is about time travel and time and Greek and Roman myth, so that theater makes a lot of sense. I did get a little bit more look in on the in-between theater, but we'll get to that chronologically. So then we jump straight into the animated stuff we've seen in trailers. And apparently this is something that Occult Tokyo TV has made, an anime, which heavily resembles stuff we're probably gonna go on to do in the digital world. Our operator, in this instance Kanan for me, puts it down to our presence being too obvious lately and that she wants to get budget for changing uniforms to fly under the radar, as it's crazy how similar the uniforms in the TV show are to our real ones. I mean, to be fair, the characters are one for one. But what's interesting is we see Digimon here, and we see, I think, Inori and Agiomon, who we have not met at this time. We've not met Digimon as our main character, we've not met Digimon, we've not met Inori, we've not met Agiomon, and yet a TV show at the same time seems to almost be predicting the future, or more likely has already seen us interacting with Digimon, Agiomon, and Inori because of time travel. So the setup is that there's this big anomaly that we've got to go and investigate. It's closed a building, these huge crowds are in attendance to protest and want to know what's going on. We head into the underground, and that's where Digimon finally appear. Impmon, Gotsumon, and Monodramon. I talked to some of the other people playing with me. We each had our own console to play on, but we were like 4 of us in a room playing, and a couple of us were a little bit confused. I knew what the start of Digimon were, because obviously it got revealed way back when, but the other guy just hadn't seen that. He was like, oh, I thought Impmon, Gotsumon, and Monodramon were about to be our starters, but no, they're the first set of enemies you fight. However, because you then get to take a pick of Patamon, Devimon, and Gomamon, that becomes your actual partner Digimon, I guess. You can then immediately fight Impmon, Gotsumon, and Monodramon in the underground. So there's some of the very earliest Digimon you'll easily be able to convert. So in some ways, they're kind of like secondary starters. Eventually, we get a call from Inori, who somehow is already patched into our special agent phone system, which our operator is confused by, and obviously we're confused by too, because we've never met this chick. But our mission is to save her because she's called our phone. And when we finally catch up with Inori, she seems to already know us.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Inori already knowing us, we don't know her, she can already access our phone links. This seems almost certainly to be an Inori from a different point in the timeline, accidentally meeting up with a past version of us, thinking she's meeting up with the version she knows. Anyway, we journey through the underground with Inori, aka the girl that needs to be protected, and suddenly, boom, it's Metal Greymon from the first trailer. And specifically, I can actually confirm now, it is Metal Greymon Virus. It kind of made it a little bit foggy and hard to see in the promotional material, but in the game itself, it's very clear it's Metal Greymon Virus, which seems like a really big fight to do this early in the game with just a rookie Digimon partner, and that's when the GOAT, Omnimon, steps in. Again, like I say, this is all stuff we've seen in trailers, we just didn't know really where it fell chronologically. Inori seems to ask, is it you? And Omnimon nods, implying Omnimon was once the two Agumon and Gabumon that perhaps Inori knows. She's not seen him as an Omnimon before, but she gets the idea that he's comprised of two Digimon she probably does know, which means, yeah, we're going to bump into Agumon and Gabumon again in this game. It would be awesome if they're the partner of Nokia and there is some more Cyber Sleuth connection, but I guess we'll see. A really cool thing I like that's been done before in various media, but I haven't seen in a story game in English, is that Omnimon has two layered voices. So you can kind of hear what War Greymon and Metal Garurumon's voice actors are going to be like by listening to Omnimon. Very cool. They say this at some point, I can't remember when it's said, but apparently our father or our grandfather, the footage will show this correctly, Mr. Yuki is the whole reason we're investigating Digimon and how Adamus knows about Digimon and these anomalies, so we're basically a Nepo baby. Anyway, we venture into the main building where the big mech guy from the trailer seems to have been built. Contained, it's breaking out regardless. Our operative did not know it was in here and doesn't know why it's breaking out. I suspect this is like a secret government, Adamus, whatever, response to Digimon. Looking at the trailer footage we've seen already, it's like surrounded by like factory elements, like it looks very man-made, very Evangelion, Avas, right? So I do think this big thing is going to be something that humans have made, maybe to combat Digimon or something else. At this point, you get tutorials on evolving and converting your Digimon, and then as you enter the building, there's a bunch of Digimon like Tentomon you can fight, but also Chaosdramon. Yes, Chaosdramon is confirmed for this game, and very early in the game, may I add. Ridiculously high leveled, like 65. You're not supposed to fight this guy. I snuck around it. One of the other guys that I was playing in the same room as ran into him by accident, had to fight him, and it wiped his team, obviously. But I think this is supposed to illustrate that sometimes there are Digimon that you're supposed to sneak around and not engage in. It's about picking your battles, which I think makes a ton of sense, but holy moly. Having Chaosdramon be confirmed to be in the game and the way that they teach you that lesson, awesome. At this point, they also teach you about the personality system of Digimon. I know some people were concerned about Digimon having personalities locked, but the way it actually works is that Digimon start with personalities, and personalities influence Digivolution, but you can talk to your Digimon in the overworld, and when you do, you have the chance to shift their personality, which I think is great. Adds a new element to Digivolution and a Digimon's temperament, but also isn't super locked in and fixed. We traverse through the building and start seeing Digimon that have been defeated as well as fighting Digimon, and eventually help rescue a Biomon. It's a male-voiced Biomon. I'm really getting Digimon Data Squad vibes from that, and it's pretty obvious, but I feel like this Biomon is eventually going to be the Birdramon we've seen in promotional footage. We're trying to get across a broken bridge to get to Inori, so we ask for Biomon's help. He tries his best to fly us across the gorge, but fails. I'm gonna keep this a secret. I want you to find out about it in the game, but there is something related to a sibling that Inori has, and the name that she refers to them as. Again, I want to save it for the actual game for you guys. I don't want to spoil it. I'm going to censor it here, but that is fascinating to me. If you do want to know, you can ask me in the comments and I'll tell you. I also, looking at the footage, think that I might be able to see the letters EOE or maybe EXE on the giant mech, but I'm not entirely sure. Oh, also, we can nickname our partners. So at various times in this footage, you're going to see Karn 2 from the first segment and Karn Jr. later on. I did try putting the Digimon's name as subscribe describe, and it said it was a bad word, so I guess I can't do that. Eventually, you get to the roof, and there is a Kuwagamon boss, sub-boss fight, and I learned some interesting things here. So obviously, there's the Analyze tool, which we've seen before, but there's also a QTE thing you can do on some attacks for extra hits. I didn't quite parse exactly how they trigger. It's a very quick, pressured situation, but basically, it's a quick time event that you have to press X at the right time, and your Digimon will do extra damage on top of their attack. Pretty cool and breaks up potentially boring turn-based battles. There's also the auto battle function, which we talked about before, and it doesn't seem like during this that the QTE or the X art, and indeed even item consumption, is touched by the auto battle function, which to me makes sense. You don't want the auto battle to waste all your high quality items and your X art, and you can turn off the auto battle at any point if you do want to use them, and then just switch it back on. Though that might be totally circumstantial, and I just personally never saw it when I played it, but I think it is quite likely that auto battle wouldn't quote unquote waste useful things like your X art, which is basically your overdrive, your limit break, and your items. So then this big Ava and its shadow creatures cause havoc and appear to maybe kill Inori, or at least body her, which is when a big Jupitermon fist, just the fist, rocket propelled, which is insane, flies out of a portal, decks that guy, and then what is later referred to as the Shinjuku Inferno is triggered. I believe this point in time is going to have at least 2 versions of everyone from different time periods. So we're going to be there, Inori's going to be there, Aegyomon's going to be there, or maybe his form as Jupitermon's going to be there, split across 2 different time periods. I think this location, the Shinjuku Inferno, is both the beginning and the end location of the game, though it might not be the very end of the game, it might be like the end of Act 1 or Act 2, or maybe even we revisit a 3rd time, which I think would be very funny to find out that 3 versions of ourselves are at this one location. Anyway, we wake up in the Temple of Beginnings. Coronamon, Lunamon, and Minervamon are here talking to us about an egg thief. One of the shadow creatures arrive and we help the Digimon, insisting that we're not an egg thief, and they really don't like egg thieves. I also think it's funny that Coronamon calls Minervamon Minnie and Lunamon calls her Nervy, very cute, and Coronamon calls the egg the precious egg of the Great Guardian, so yeah, that's Aegyomon's egg, huh? We've seen this in trailers. The shadow creature lunges for the egg, we side tackle them, and then the egg falls through the floor. What we haven't seen in trailers before is that cracks the structure, sending us plummeting. After we fade to dark here, there is a vignette in the in-between theater, which is a massive spoiler, although again, it might have been posted on socials by the time this video goes out. Embargo dates are weird. I am going to say what this vignette reveals at the end of this video, so stick around if you do want that spoiler. It's massive, but it's also something happening in the first hour of the game, so it's not something they're probably particularly precious about being a spoiler, it's more just like a crazy confirmation. So then we fall back to the real world, meet Inori's father, who's butting heads with special agents, not allowing him to see where his daughter is at, after she calls him scared and breaking up. We use Digimon to help him get into the underground through a closed gate, and we journey a bit. Then we encounter Hiroko, who's lying on the ground before getting her up, and apparently she broke in to investigate for Occult Tokyo TV, and kind of recognizes us. We then reveal to Inori's father about it being Digimon that we used to break the gate, and those Digimon are running around Tokyo too, and Inori's dad says it's just like the accident. Also, I love Hiroko's little pose and title card she gets. Alright, so that was the first segment of the game. That was where I had to stop playing. We took a little break, and then they brought us back and played the second part, the Abyss area. It's time for Karn Jr. and the boys to examine this aquatic ambience. Some cool confirmations are that Marine Angemon is here, and we get a great little interaction between Mega Seadramon and Waru Seadramon, kind of fighting like brothers. I actually would love to see Giga Seadramon in this game. I think that would be neat. During this segment, you can also enter these little kind of like white portals whenever you want to access the in-between theater. Mirai there lets you access the Digifarm, very similar to Cyber Sleuth. It has a V-Petish system for raising stats, accessories and stuff you can place around, as well as a very Digimon World 1-esque training system. So it's going to be where you're going to raise your Digimon, and if you're looking for some of that more Digimon World style of gameplay from this game, that's got you covered. I did run around the in-between theater a little bit. It looked like the other NPCs were kind of weird Victorian ghosts, and there were some staff, and one of them, well, let's wait for the full game. It's in the Abyss area that we learn that a group of Titan Digimon are opposing kind of regular Digimon and destroying stuff, trying to take over. However, one of the Titans, a Divermon, got injured, and a non-Titan Shellmon is holed up taking care of him, and then we come to his aid. Also, Shellmon has a girl voice, which I just think is cute. Divermon, out of gratitude for what Shellmon did, realizes the error of his ways and defects from the Titans that are destroying the Abyss area, and we say we'll go with him to the underwater area to try and convince his boss to stop attacking. Outside, Dragomon confirmed. You actually fight a couple of Dragomon over this whole segment. It's a real dark ocean. I'm funny. To help us get underwater, Shellmon gives us a conch shell which we can use to summon Waymon, which again we've seen in other footage, and he makes tons of whale puns here. Whale, what do we have here, etc. We get to the bottom of the sea and Waymon tells us we can breathe thanks to a thin film covering us, which I just think is peak video game explanation nonsense, never change. And this is where I learned something really good actually. I hadn't really used items in the first part of my gameplay, but in the second part, items, while not taking up a turn, cannot be spammed infinitely. You can use one item per each Digimon's turn. So, you know, it's XVmon's turn, you use an SP capsule, that's you done on items for its turn. Some people were worried that if you can use items without wasting a turn, it would mean that a lot of the game would be rendered very boring. Obviously, it looks like we've got a difficulty option, first of all, which is great, but then also, yeah, it's not as simple as being able to use as many items as you want. It's still one item per turn, it just doesn't waste a turn of attack. Submarimon is also a guest in the Abyss area, which helps us fight Sharkmon. It has a Southern American accent, kind of Texan accent, just like in Adventure Zero 2's dub, but his main purpose is to help navigate areas that have too strong of a current for us to traverse normally, including to get to Sharkmon. I'm getting KH1 Atlantica vibes. Speaking of riding Digimon, obviously there are Digimon like Waymon and Submarimon that are kind of environmental Digi-rides, but then we also have rideable Digimon ourselves. I unfortunately could not transfer this footage in time, but all of the Digimon that we had in this build, honestly it was about half of them that were rideable. Digimon like Numemon, XVmon, and Sorcerymon did not have the ride symbol, and I think that's fine. However, Togemon, Kabuterimon, Leomon, they are rideable. You ride on the back of Kabuterimon, Leomon holds you up. Togemon holds you up in a way incredibly similar to the opening of Digimon Adventure. It's awesome. And then there's the Sharkmon boss fight, which I'm not going to go into. I'm going to save that for the main game, let you guys play and experience that and see how it goes on. But needless to say, you defeat Sharkmon, go back up to the surface, and Divermon and Shellmon have a heart-to-heart. Also, when I was in the Abyss area, there might not be footage for this, I noticed that there was a lot of costumes. So obviously the DLC costumes like the Digimon Adventure and Spy sets, but also just like pixel t-shirts with like Agumon and Gomamon and stuff on them. So if you're worried about outfits outside of pre-order and special editions, don't worry. It looks like there's going to be a lot of costumes in this game. So before we get to that big spoiler that I talked about, some housekeeping. First of all, I have confirmation that Digimon Story Time Stranger will run on the Steam Deck. It seemed obvious, but it will. I did not get any confirmation on frame rate or specs or anything like that on the Steam Deck. I imagine it's probably going to be like 1080 60, 4K 30, but who knows, maybe they'll get 4K 60 out of it. And this also likely means if it's going to work on Steam Deck, it's probably going to get Steam Deck verified. It will also likely work on things like the Asus ROG Ally and like that new Xbox ROG Ally that's coming out. So really good. If you're looking for a portable option and you want to play it on release, that's probably your best bet, especially because I did ask about the Nintendo Switch 2 port and either they didn't know or they couldn't tell me, but you know, it doesn't seem to be immediately on the horizon. I think that's a 2026 thing. But before I get into my final thoughts on this game, what I've played so far, let's talk about that spoiler. In the vignette that I mentioned earlier, we see these three Victorian looking kids that we've seen in other footage around the time that Mirai was revealed. And they're talking about, oh, it being, you know, your responsibility, and I started getting the hairs on the back of my neck creeping up as I realized they were talking about servers of the digital world. And then yes, the blonde-haired girl refers to the boy as Homeros. This was a big theory that I had from the second I saw them, but still, this to me is insane confirmation that the three host computers of the digital worlds are sat together. We know that the boy is Homeros, and if we look at the girl with blonde hair and a white and blue dress, this immediately reminds me of Norn from Digimon Next, the human avatar version of Yggdrasil, and oh my god, time after time, you triggered again. A few months ago, I did a video about Digimon that we'll probably never see again, or digital life ones we'll probably never see again. And one of them, my number one, I believe, was Norn, the girl human form of Yggdrasil. Now listen, this technically isn't Norn. We don't know it's Yggdrasil yet, but it's probably Yggdrasil. It's a blonde little girl form for Yggdrasil again. I can't believe they're actually digging up that reference from Digimon Next. It's crazy. But then that begs the question, who is the third? Who is like a sleepy girl, I believe is the name she's referred to as? You might think, okay, initially this could be Witchelny, right? But Witchelny is a weird digital world. It doesn't doesn't appear to be in the same leagues as Yggdrasil and Homeros, the Yggdrasil server and the Iliad server, which makes me think perhaps this sleepy girl, the girl waiting to wake up, is Kunlun of Shambhala, the East Asian, Chinese, and Japanese digital world. She's sleepy because she hasn't released yet. She hasn't woken up. The pendulums for Shambhala aren't out yet. Elysian, which has the new Renamon evolutions, is not out yet. She's sleepy because she's just kind of getting ready to be out there. Now, this could be wrong. This might not be Shambhala and it might not be Witcherly. It could be a completely new server. Could even be potentially the server where these weird mech creatures are from. But I do think this girl in the middle is naturally going to be Yggdrasil. And I think that's interesting then that we are going to have probably Royal Knights still involved in the story of this game, but maybe more as a last minute thing, preventing this war between Digimon and humans and stuff. Yggdrasil will be like, fine, Homeros, I'll send in the Royal Knights to help. So that's the spoiler out of the way. Here's my last thoughts on this. This is probably the last time I'm going to get to play this game before launch. We are only a month away. Honestly, I was incredibly impressed with the visuals. Playing it on PS5 in 4K, it looked great. And as I was playing this and I'm running around, I'm like, is this in 30 FPS? It doesn't look like it's in 30 FPS. It looks higher frame rate. Now, I've long since lost the ability to see anything below 60 FPS, so 30 looks choppy to me and 60 looks fine. It doesn't look intensely smooth. All the footage I have is in 60 FPS. I'm not promising or even saying this game is going to be 60 FPS on PS5, which is the version I played. However, I think it's likely that maybe when they said the game is running at 4K 30 on PS5, that's like their bare minimum promise. I think the game will always run at 30, but might be able to run higher, because I swear, looking at this footage and playing the game, this was running 40 to 60 at times. Again, I'm really not good at seeing the big differences between frame rates. I just know that 60 looks normal to me now, but I never noticed a ton of jitter. So I do wonder, and hopefully it's not just the build I played, but I do think that this game probably actually does run up past 30 on PS5. It just like targets 30 for stability and not to overpromise a frame rate that they can't hit. It looked 60 to me, dog. Aside from that though, the story is way more compelling. The cutscenes are great. Them being voiced is awesome. A lot of voice acting going on, which I think is great. There still are moments where they just kind of have those Persona-esque, huh? What? Rather than fully voiced dialogue. And obviously whenever someone refers to your character, while the text will say like Karn or your name, the voice line will just say agent. So isn't that right, Karn is voiced as, isn't that right, agent? The battle system is a ton of fun. I think it's a really nice evolution from Cyber Sleuth. And if you do get a little bit bored of turn-based battles, as long as your team's strong enough, that auto button is super handy. I am so lucky, thanks to you guys, that I got to play this game again before launch, and I can't wait to do a full stream playing the entire thing when it comes out. But yeah, I am just blown away. I'm super excited for this. I can't believe it's actually coming out in a month and looks good, maybe better than I expected. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on what I have talked about today. It's been quite the bumper video. Again, apologies that it had to go out on Monday, embargoes. And if there's any questions you want clarifying that you think I might be able to answer, let me know in the comments down below. If you want to know that spoiler about Inori's sibling, let me know in the comments down below. I'm so excited for this. Thank you to Bandai Namco UK for sorting out this opportunity once again. Next month is Digimon Story Time Stranger, Digimon Beat Break, a bunch more. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you. All right, thank you to my sovereigns, ZDK14 and Chaotic Prophet, as well as everyone else who supports me over on patreon.com/Karn EX. YouTube is doing weird stuff with views right now across the platform, so if you could consider supporting me on Patreon to mean that I can make any Digimon videos whenever I want, that would be awesome. And thank you to my channel members here on YouTube too. You guys are absolutely phenomenal. Thank you for supporting me, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.